Hello and welcome to Museums Showoff. I'm Rachel Suhami, the producer, and let me introduce you to your host this evening. It's the marvellous and amazing Naomi Paxton.
Thank you, Rachel. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Museums Showoff. It's March 2021. Gosh, I'm Naomi Paxton. I'm your host for tonight's show, and thank you so much for joining us. Hello, if you're joining us for the first time. Hello again, if you've joined us before, either in our in-person shows or at our previous online shows. We have a jam-packed show for you tonight, full of fabulous things. Now, I always say this, but that is because it's always true. We are going to be talking about the weird and the wonderful. We're talking partnerships, we're talking collaborations, we're talking operations, and we've got a very special final act that you will definitely want to pay close attention to. So do please tweet along with the show, amplify the voices of those involved, share calls to action, share projects, and open up the things our speakers are going to be talking about to new audiences. You can do that by tagging us in on Twitter at Museums Showoff and using the hashtag Museums Showoff as well. Now, I do love a prop, and sadly, because we've all still been in lockdown, I haven't really been able to do the in-person events that I'd normally do for LGBT History Month and Women's History Month. So I haven't really been able to show anybody my very special pink-cheeked rainbow toy. So I'm showing it to you. Thank you very much. Now, let's kick off with our first speaker. Now, we're talking some big themes here. We're talking life, we're talking death, we're talking action, we're talking learning, and we're talking animals. And we're talking about these things with Kate Oliver. Please welcome her to your screens.
The first time I taught about animals in a museum was so weird without my cockroaches. My first job in museums was at the Horniman in South London, to which you are currently reacting either "what's that?" or "I love the Horniman." It's one of those weird local remit museums that everyone's very passionate about. So if you're uninitiated, the Horniman is about everything in the world. So it's got collections that are natural history, world cultures, musical instruments, an aquarium, 16 acres of themed gardens, absolutely everything. So in the school's learning team, like me, it's fantastic. You can teach about all kinds of different topics, like animals using the taxidermy from the Handling collection. But that was strange for me because I'd just come from 8 years working at ZSL London Zoo, where, as you can imagine, there were some crucial differences. No ancient Egypt or music. It was just about animals, and specifically about endangered species and how people could conserve them into the future. We did have objects to teach with, so we had things like leopard skins or sea turtle shells that were on loan from the Metropolitan Police, but we didn't call them objects, we called them props, and you could chuck them in a rucksack or stack them up in the corner of the room. So it was very strange coming to a museum where I'd take that exact same turtle shell and cover it gently with acid-free paper and then update its location in Mimsy. So teaching that first session was very strange. How could we learn about life in that room when there was nothing living there? In fact, you were surrounded by dead things. And it got me worrying that I'd moved from an organisation that was about life and the future to a place that was fundamentally about conserving the past. But I soon found a few real advantages in working with dead animals instead of live. They don't move. They stay where you put them. They don't wriggle, they don't bite, and the amount of urine I was cleaning up at the end of the session was massively reduced, though sadly not to zero. Because they're still, the young people can study them so much more closely, and they can touch the teeth and the claws and the eyes, always the eyes. And I found myself having much deeper, more detailed conversations than I had previously. At the zoo, some days you'd have a sneaking suspicion that the only learning objective someone had taken home was that the cockroach had pooed. So for everything that zoos were great about looking at the future and what people could change, I found that in museums we were great at meeting people where they were in the present and about listening to their story as much as we were telling them ours. And happily, in the last few years, I've seen those two approaches come even more together. Museum learning is so much more about the future and about action now, about things like climate change and representing Black voices and everything that's happened in the last 12 months. We can see that museums are being that place that people can explore matters of life and of death. And even without my six-legged buddies by my side, I am proud to be a part of that change. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Kate Oliver. I'm a definite hooray for the Horniman Museum person. I can't wait until it reopens. And now, let's go to Wales. What a treat it is to be going somewhere. Let's go to the Royal Mint collection because we want to hear about D-Day, an historical event. It might be the D-Day you're thinking of, or it might not be. Let's find out. Please welcome to your screens, Susan Sandford.
Hi, I'm Susie, and this is me. I'm the Digital Engagement and Collections Access Officer for the Royal Mint Museum. Here at the museum, we have a nationally significant collection, including thousands of coins, medals, seals, trial plates, master tools, plaster models, drawings, books, periodicals, archival material, photographs and negatives, and architectural plans. We are located on a high-security site in the Welsh Valleys, and until the Royal Mint opened the Royal Mint Experience in 2016, we did not have a permanent location to display our collections. In essence, we look after one of the least accessible aspects of Britain's industrial and social heritage. Nevertheless, we take every opportunity to raise our profile, do good work, and show off our stuff. And this is why D-Day was important. In the swinging 60s, it was announced that Britain would change its coinage from pounds, shillings, and pence to a decimal currency. Decimalisation would impact on the entire nation, affecting people from all walks of life as they learnt to master a new way of valuing everything, and the culmination of the process of decimalisation was D-Day, or Decimal Day, 15th of February, 1971. In 2021, it would be 50 years since this momentous occasion, and we thought this would be the perfect opportunity for us to undertake a national project. We would share our collections and knowledge and have others share theirs with us. We would connect generations with outreach programs, bringing together people of all ages to learn from each other's experiences. And then the pandemic. Most of the plans we had would be impossible. We would find it hard to connect generations when they needed to be 2 meters apart or sheltered. And not just that. We, like many other museums around the country, had to learn an entirely new way of working from home, away from our archives and collections. But we're a plucky bunch, and we were determined not to lose this opportunity to contribute to people's well-being. Obviously, digital engagement was part of the answer. Our education manager set about creating activities and workshops for schools. We held a story competition for years 5 and 6 pupils in Wales to get them to engage with the subject, and as you can see by the titles, their imaginations ran wild. We also held a medal design competition for uni students and a social media event. And this was all great, but we had always intended to engage with the older generation as well, those who had now been hardest hit by the lockdowns and who may not have access to technology. This is where Museum in a Box came in. Museum in a Box is a community interest company and, in their own words, at the centre of their world lies the box. It's a small, friendly, internet-connected Raspberry Pi-powered thing which has speakers inside. When you place a museum object on it, an audio response will play. Originally, we were going to partner with Museum in a Box as part of a touring exhibition, but with the ongoing pandemic, they were the answer to our prayers. Together, we set about creating content for reminiscence sessions to be used in care homes, providing residents with an activity that would spark memories. It became obvious very quickly that this project was going to be more popular than we had anticipated. What was originally tentatively designed as a Wales-wide project expanded into a national one. We went from 5 boxes to 45 boxes, and since we received our first expressions of interest, we have gone from 20 care homes to over 300 signed up, and we anticipate reaching about 46,000 residents by the end of the year. Posting that many boxes is an organisational nightmare, particularly for such a small team, but it was made easier by the fact that we can rely on our friends in the Royal Mint Dispatch Department. We had to think about quarantine, and for this we found helpful guidance and information from a Leeds Museum and Galleries webinar. There were also legal implications and contingency plans for damage and loss of boxes, and finally, how to capture the impact the project is having on people. And for this, we've been using the UCL Museum Wellbeing Measures Toolkit. This project has been challenging, not least for our poor, long-suffering project manager, Beth. But we can't help feeling good when we see outcomes and smiling faces like these.
Thank you so much, Susan, for sharing that with us. Great to see those smiles, and thank you for sharing those initiatives and projects and collaborations. What brilliant reach, and congratulations to you and your team for making all that happen under such difficult circumstances. Now, we are going to stay in Wales because I have a question. I want to know what are the top 5 reasons why museums should be excited about the new Welsh curriculum? How can I find this out? I think I can find this out from some museum educators across Wales, if we can just magic them up. I think it's working.
Hello, I'm Nick Winterbotham. I work in the arts, museums and heritage, and in particular with GEM, the Group for Education in Museums, to develop learning for students of all ages. It's not often you get the opportunity to develop completely and rethink what learning should be for young people. The new curriculum gives us a fantastic opportunity to rethink heritage learning in Wales. It's particularly urgent now and has come at a time when COVID closures and lockdowns have given us an unprecedented new focus on what children of all ages can learn, how they learn it, and even where they learn. New curricula don't come along very often. If we work together, the new curriculum in Wales will support all manner of different learning and different realms of study. Today, we're going to talk about just 5 in particular. So let's get on with it.
Hello, my name's Jordan and I work as the Learning and Outreach Officer for Museum of Cardiff. We were set up by and for Cardiff's communities. The new curriculum gives us a really exciting opportunity to participate with schools in co-production right from the outset. So whether it's a classroom project or a school-wide project, museums and heritage organisations can be part of that right from the outset.
My name is Hannah Sweetapple and I am the Learning and Engagement Officer at the Egypt Centre in Swansea Uni. The new curriculum is held up by 4 purposes, one of which is to make our learners ethical and informed citizens of Wales and the world. This is an exciting opportunity for museums to use their collections in new and diverse ways, to explore not just local history, but Wales' shared history with other nations. This will allow us to look at subjects such as decolonisation within a school setting.
Hello, my name's Sue Davis. I'm an educationalist and an ex-head of learning, museum learning, and now work for myself in Wales. And one of the reasons that I was so excited to come back to Wales was the prospect of a new Welsh curriculum, which is skills-based, which puts well-being at the heart of learning. And this is fantastic for museums, of course, and particularly here in Wales, because in 2015, the Welsh Government developed the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, which makes sure that all public bodies are working in a unified way to the greater good.
Hi, I'm Jo. I'm Swansea Council's Literature Officer, and I curate our permanent Dylan Thomas exhibition and deliver a programme of learning and engagement activities. I'm absolutely delighted with the emphasis on literacy and creativity across the new curriculum. Literacy is one of the key cross-curricular skills central to this curriculum, with a focus on developing all styles of writing, including creative writing. This ties in perfectly with our Dylan Thomas exhibition, which is called Love the Words, and which explores Thomas's writing through objects, interactive displays, recordings and film. Dylan Thomas's work itself is cross-curricular, exploring the major historic events of the 20th century and focusing on the social and political history of Swansea. He shared close friendships with a variety of artists, musicians, photographers and writers, and this rich cultural context is reflected in the range of objects and interpretation in our collection, This encourages creative interpretations of our collection, multi-art form approaches and digital projects, which develop a range of skills and promote imaginative responses. And this is exactly the approach of the new curriculum.
The new curriculum empowers people to take the lead on their own learning.
The new curriculum will foster a lifelong love of learning.
New curriculum in Wales is a fabulous opportunity for museums to devise motivational, hands-on learning experiences in real-life environments.
The new curriculum positively encourages visits to museums and the kind of immersive learning experience we offer.
So there we have it, just 5 of many good reasons for shaping and delivering the new curriculum in Wales, which we haven't addressed before. Literature, co-creation, the expressive arts, how Welsh culture fits into the wider world, and new takes on local history in all its forms. We hope you will join us in pioneering this new curriculum that can and will transform the ways in which young learners will engage with the arts and heritage as never before. What we feel especially enthusiastic about is skills. So it's not just a matter of what you study, but how you go about studying it. If we don't do it now, we'll have to wait another 30 years, I guess, before being able to deliver the learning that our next generation deserves and will need to face their challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick, Jordan, Hannah, Sue and Joe. It really does sound like a fantastic opportunity. And now, you might have had your fill of acronyms. I know I have during lockdown, working in academia and across the arts, but maybe there's room for one more. It is MOFP, or maybe MOF. Oh, that would be great. What is MOFP, or maybe MOF? Well, let's find out. Please welcome to your screens the fantastic David Hingley.
Hi, and welcome to this webinar, because you haven't had enough of those in the last 12 months. And what I'm going to talk about today is what we can learn about COVID and what it really means for operating a site. So I'm just going to share my screen with you, so there'll be a short pause while I stuff this up. And hopefully now we're all there, and in a couple of minutes' time, you'll all be able to see this. So I've appointed myself as the head of visitor experience for MOF, which is the Museum of Forward Planning, because we can look back to a time when we could plan forward rather than live in the day-to-day. And I'm going to share, as I said, the practical experience of visitor experience. And why am I doing this as the head of VE? Because we all know that the job of the head of visitor experience is to read every one of the ever-changing regulations so that you don't have to, and you can just give them a call to find out exactly what's happening at times when even the DCMS or the government aren't really sure. So I thought a little bit about the visions and aims of MOFP. And our aim and our vision is really to retain and explain the efforts of operations teams in order to deliver the visitor experience in an ever-changing world, and how they can also remain sane, crucially. Our aim is to preserve and share the numerous Excel workbooks of reworked operational priorities that will be otherwise lost to posterity, to further the understanding of the volume of saltwater tears shed by operational teams, and to build upon our core values which define museum operations as anything other teams define as tricky, tedious or terrifying and don't really want to touch, and to pass off our quiet terror as a deep confidence at all times. The proposition that we bring is that all of a sudden, because there's a pandemic, you started to listen to ops people, and now we've got your attention, we're going to max out while we can. So what does COVID mean? Well, I like to think of COVID as having an impact, meaning we need calm, orderly visits, inexpertly delivered. And I say inexpertly because at the start of this, we weren't experts, but now we are. We have all become coved. And when you think about this presentation, I want you all, despite the distance, despite the fact we're talking through Zoom, to think about social distance as something that is just a number. It could be 2, it could be 1, it could be 1 and a bit, and who knows what it will be by the time we reach the 21st of June. I thought I would cover our reopening plans as we had them for the 2nd of May 2020, 25th of May, sorry, 2020, June the 10th, 2020, September the 19th, 2020, the closure date of the 19th of September 2020. I'll hang it May 2021, when possibly subject to change, almost definitely subject to change, we will reopen. So what are the main changes? First of all, tickets. All visitors are now ticketed at many of our sites, and that's to ensure that we collect all the visitor details for test and trace that other organisations seem unable to do. And I'm often asked, well, what does everybody being ticketed mean? And I say, well, if people breathe and they take up space, then at the moment they are a health and safety risk and we must ticket them. So it does include our members. It does include staff who aren't working but just want to pop in and don't think this applies to them. It includes friends of people with tickets who are in a support bubble, friends who aren't in a support bubble, people in the rule of 6, not in the rule of 6, people in whatever rule it is that have been invented on the day that we are open. So basically it includes everyone. So the following groups don't require tickets. Nope, there are no groups that don't require tickets. It's really clear everyone needs a ticket. And honestly, we all agreed this and you were in that Zoom meeting. So yes, you are part of everyone. Let's move on from tickets. Visitor flow, often something we didn't talk about as much as people thought we did. We talk about visitor flow through an exhibition and the narrative, and we'd always imagine it on the opening event when there was warm wine and everyone could wander around in small invited numbers. But in actual fact, this is an average Saturday in most of our museums and galleries where everyone's crammed in going whichever way they want, and we're all trying to get them through the shop because we know we need the money. And this would be what would have happened. Now, one of the bonuses of COVID is we've been able to think this through more. We have one-way routes. We keep visitors at a social distance, and when we mapped it all out, they would stay at least 2 meters apart because they care about their health and the health of others. The shop would be in the centre still, and we really needed the money more than ever. But of course, the reality of COVID is that in actuality, visitors just like to cram around whatever the interesting objects are, and they believe it is everybody else's fault that social distance isn't being kept. Hence the extra stress and strain on our saddened staff. There have been positives. We've looked at income and visitor projections in new ways. We've invested in new processes to better project our visitor numbers for the future. We've built on our knowledge and experience so that we can do complex capacity calculations for how many people it is we can fit into our sites. We've modelled our income assumptions on the best available data in order to be sure of our future solvency. There are some positives for duty management too. I often talk about the fact you need to keep a straight face in any situation as a duty manager. If there's a bomb scare, if there's a flood, or if there's a fire evacuation, all of this is covered by a helpful mask. An investment has happened. Often operations teams are the last to feel investments. We've had new uniforms. Perspex screens have been delivered in a way never before imagined. Things which were previously unimportant to other teams, such as toilet roll, now actually do feature on budget planning. We have seen the rise of the stanchion, even to the extent where it helped prevent a coup at Capitol Hill. And easy to use technology means we will never again need to speak to our visitors. Business continuity planning is of course key. Definitely something that we will revisit at a future webinar. Getting the tone right can be tough. We want to welcome people back. At the same time, we need to take as much money off them as possible. So how can we bring them close while simultaneously telling them to back off? How can we make sure they do wear a mask and that when they do wear a mask, it's our mask that they paid for in our shop? How can we ensure that they have enjoyed themselves, that they've forgotten all about COVID whilst following the one-way routes, casting suspicious looks at other visitors and wearing the mask that they bought from our shop? But all of this, of course, is just me taking the mickey. And to be serious for a moment, visitor experience teams have been listened to as never before. We've had more people interested in what the capacity of an exhibition is and what the experience is like. Bernard from Alva and his Staff Not Stuff has never been truer. We have had visitors in tears at the chance to talk to people in the spaces that they love. And if we can do this now, imagine what we can do in the future. We've worked more closely than ever across the whole sector with webinars. Much better than this, and our teams have pulled together and imagined the impossible and made it work. Things such as access have come to the forefront as we've been completely redesigning the way visitors experience our sites with tight budgets and tough timelines. So I wanted to say people are amazing. It's the people that make the places, and can we just make sure that we don't need to create this museum to remember all this stuff? I won't be taking questions. I don't have the answers. Thank you very much for your time.
No questions. Thank you, David. Now, this mask is standing in for a smiling shark mask that I did actually buy in the Natural History Museum gift shop at some point last year when it was open. But of course, I couldn't find it for tonight's show because even though we've got about 60 to 70 masks in this house, none of them can be found when you actually want them. This is the emergency one, which is at the door for greeting Deliveroo drivers. Hello! There we go. Now, it's been a year of lockdown, and so our next act, it seems appropriate that she's going to be speaking to us now. She took part in our first ever online museums show-off show back in May 2020, telling us how one thing leads to another. please welcome to your screens, Hannah Mather.
Hello, so welcome to my second Museums Showoff set from the girl who brought you the Animal Crossing and Museums crossover video on the first online set of Museums Showoff. This video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a lot of me sort of talking with my cup of tea here, spilling the tea a little bit on some of the kinds of jobs that you probably wouldn't expect to be doing in the museum sector. Some exciting jobs, some downright weird jobs, and we're just having a little bit of fun really. So I hope you enjoy this video. There'll be lots of cringy pictures of me. Obviously, I've mentioned before that I work both in a front of house capacity and a back of house capacity. Well, I'll be reflecting on a couple of those jobs and experience from those jobs within this video. And I think that's really good because it gives me a real range of things to talk about as well. I was an elf once. I feel like if you were never an elf at Christmas for a museum, did you even work in museums? Probably not. But I'm going to insert just up here a picture of me looking super duper happy as an elf. It was actually a really fun experience. This Santa was a hoot. It was hilarious. So between sort of kids coming in, we'll just be joking around. It was a lot of fun, something a little bit different, and I got to add that I could be an elf onto my CV, which, you know, performances peaked. I was also a dragon princess. Yeah, somebody actually painted my face. I think back in 2016, on reflection, I really thought that my career would be quite linear. I thought I'd go to university, I'd come straight out of university, get a job, and it would be this collection. But we all know by now that this is not the reality of our sector. It takes us down lots of twisty, windy roads. And actually, I've kind of learned that it's okay to sort of trust in that process. And it's time for another cringy picture of me in action. So another thing that was actually quite cool, to be honest, was my experience with Antiques Road Trip. So I was asked to be on Antiques Road Trip as one of the historical experts, and it was a lot of fun. I feel like I'm repeating myself quite a lot here when I'm saying this was a lot of fun. A lot of things that I feel like I didn't expect to do were actually probably the most fun sort of times. Maybe also the most terrifying. Some that our sort of creative flair and problem solving is definitely tested quite frequently. But this is what makes us so special. All of this experience has made me who I am today, and being so open to trying new things has really helped me and led to some really cool things as well. I mentioned blogging earlier, and that actually led to some really cool opportunities. And in the first sort of official year of my museum career, in my first job just out of my MA, I actually got to speak at the Museum Association conference with a little organisation called Volunteer Makers. This came off the back of basically a blog that I did about volunteering opportunities and how they were quite different and quite cool over at Tynemere Archives and Museums. And I never in my wildest dreams thought that close to university I would ever get that kind of opportunity. But now I'm actually a rep for the Museum Association. I'm one of the Northern reps. And again, it absolutely blows my mind. But when you sort of look back at this kind of journey, it has been literally down to me accepting and kind of embracing the weird, the wonderful, all the different tasks that I wouldn't have even dreamt existed in the museum sector. So yes, say yes to the right thing, try new things, and embrace the weird and the wonderful. That is the tea.
Thank you, Hannah. Embracing the weird and wonderful is great advice. I've never actually been an elf, but I did once play Mother Christmas in a garden centre grotto. It wasn't my finest moment, but that's the joys of a portfolio freelance career. I think I might have a picture there. Yeah. Anyway, Europe, sports, archives, all of the above. Please welcome to your screens, Adrian Murphy.
Hello everyone, my name is Adrian Murphy. I work at Europeana, and thank you to Museum Showoff for the opportunity to talk tonight about our project Europeana Sport. I'm going to share a presentation. So Europeana Sport is a season that we will be running throughout 2021 with a focus on the summer. But first, let me introduce you to Europeana. Europeana is an open data platform and initiative of the European Union. We publish millions of digital objects from 3,500 plus galleries, libraries, archives and museums from across Europe. Our key digital product is our website, europeana.eu, and a suite of APIs which allow access to these collections. We also do a lot of work in supporting the cultural heritage sector with its digital transformation. So this is our website, europeana.eu. Here you'll find collections from all across Europe, images, text, 3D, sound and video, everything that comes under the title of cultural heritage. The content is available in 35 plus languages, and the interface of the site is available in 26 languages. Because there's a huge amount of collections there, we've divided the site up into different thematic collections, thematic areas, looking at art, photography, fashion, migration, First World War, and so on. An important aspect of our work is to tell the stories of these collections, not just display them, not just give access to them, but bring them together in a way to tell their stories and see the connections across Europe. We do this in a number of different formats. We have blogs, galleries, and online exhibitions. Another important aspect of our work is to tell these stories in thematic ways and topical ways through seasons. So over the past few years, we've been looking particularly at seasons around women's history, migration, Europe at Work, which is about working life and industrial heritage, Art Nouveau, and Discovering Europe, which was a way of showing cultural treasures across Europe this past summer. Some of those seasons involve contribution and participation, inviting the public to share stories on specific topics. We've developed this tool which allows people to easily publish those stories. Most of these are through events that we co-organize with partners called collection days, where people come to a museum, gallery or library and share their stories at the event, but also it can happen online. So today, the focus of what I want to talk about is our project Europeana Sport. That will be taking place over summer 2021. Here we will be highlighting rich and fascinating collections of sporting heritage in a pan-European context. We want to tell the story of Europe and its communities and their involvement in sport. We've already started by bringing together a lot of sport collections, from photographs and documents to actual memorabilia, medals and trophies and fan merchandise and so on. We've brought all these together on our website under a sport collection. What we hope to do is to engage audiences. We want to highlight the diversity of sporting heritage in local, national and pan-European contexts. Diversity is particularly important as we want to tell stories that may not have been told before and highlight a much more diverse approach to sporting heritage. We want to raise awareness of how sporting heritage tells stories about communities, identities and other topics. And we hope that people will participate and take part online, particularly sharing their personal memories of sport and sporting heritage. So we'll do this in a couple of ways. We're hoping to hold a series of participatory events across Europe throughout 2021. We would love if these could be in-person collection days. The pandemic might mean that might not happen, so these may also be online. We will be storytelling, showcasing cultural heritage collections in blogs and other editorial, sharing these stories with wider audiences. Our site receives about 500,000 visitors per month, so it's a very large platform and has a large following. So if you're interested in sharing stories with us, we'd love to hear from you. We always work in partnership. Already we have a specially funded project which involves the National Library of Scotland, EPIC, the Irish Emigration Museum in Dublin, and partners in France, Italy, Hungary, Romania, the Netherlands, and Spain. We would love to hear from you, though, if you have collections that relate to sport and you'd like to share these with a wider audience, or even if you're just interested in finding out more about our project. So thank you for the opportunity to talk today about Europeana sport. If you'd like to keep in touch, my email, Twitter, and LinkedIn are here, or of course, you can follow Europeana on all our channels too. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Good luck with everything this summer. And please do get in touch with Adrian if you have items in your collection that you think could be part of this, or you're interested in potential partnerships. It could be some really exciting projects that emerge out of this. Talking about sharing stories, our next speaker is going to tell us about sharing stories in lockdown and sharing stories of lockdown. Please welcome to your screens, Rosie Barker.
Hello, I'm Rosie. I'm Senior Engagement Officer at Birmingham Museums. So my job is all about bringing people and museums together. And obviously 2020 made that slightly more challenging. During the last year, I kept engaged with all our groups as much as possible. Emails, Zooms, phone calls, letters, cards. But I also ran our lockdown collecting project. I know lots of museums have done these, so I don't want you to think I'm going to talk about anything particularly groundbreaking here. But this is just a bit about what we did, the whys and hows, and what it meant to some people. We launched Life in Lockdown in May 2020, and it ran as a digital collecting project until November, 6 months exactly. I decided to bring it to an end then, partly because responses had slowed down a lot, but also because at the time it looked as if we might be heading out of lockdown. That went well. So what did we do? We put a call out for digital entries. People could send whatever they wanted that captured their experiences in digital format, and we'd share it all, not just a selection. We wanted people to feel their stories were valuable and there was somewhere to share them. We seeded the project initially by doing a call out to our volunteers, but otherwise it was mostly a blog post, a radio interview, and a lot of me trawling social media. Everything we received went up on Flickr so it could be instantly seen. I was conscious that a lot of people weren't going to be reading our blog or following us on social media, and that would limit whose stories we heard, so I tried to do a bit more active reaching out too. I contacted every third sector or charity I could think of, some we had partnerships with before, some we'd never worked with. A lot never got back to me. That's fine, we were in a pandemic, they're busy supporting people, so me popping up to say, "Hi, I'm from the museum," was rightly not a priority. But others did, and valued the opportunity for their participants and service users to have their voices heard. We tried to support them too, giving something back, and hopefully these can also be the start of some longer term relationships. Just a couple of examples. We had a great response from a charity supporting refugees. They were running a music project with Syrian women, which they let us be part of. They wrote a song about lockdown and shared it with us. The Big Issue supported one of their vendors to share photos of the streets he'd usually be selling the Big Issue on. Everyone's generosity in sharing their time and experiences was fantastic. So what did we get? At first, lots of pictures of rainbows, empty streets, nature. Then things started to open up a bit. The mystery of the dinner table appearing in the woods, lockdown crafts, food banks and food bank collections, the highs and the lows, a socially distanced amateur dramatic performance for VE Day, Zoom dinner with a stranger for the Commonwealth Games, poems, videos, collage competition entries, a digital magazine written by homeschooled kids. It was incredibly varied. I also did interviews with people of faith, and I did the world's worst editing job to make extracts. If nothing else, lockdown has taught me that where there's a will and a free online programme, there's a way. So what next? I'm going to be putting together a film of everyone's submissions, which we can show online and hopefully one day soon in a museum as well. We're also thinking about how to get these items into our collections. That's one for me to figure out with the curators. Do we collect all 400 or so pieces? Do we collect my sure to be superbly edited film? If you've run a digital collecting project, I'd love to know what you did. What was lovely was I got to hear from, talk to, phone or meet up with everyone who shared their experiences. It was great personally to feel part of the city and to share in everyone's experiences while we were separated. And hopefully the project has or will give people that same sense of connection as they find out about other people's lives on lockdown. To end, one local church decided to virtually donate to us all the artwork from their own community art project they'd put together to keep their parishioners connected. I met the organiser, socially distanced of course, to collect the artwork to photograph, and she told me that knowing their work was going into the museum affirmed their experiences. All those people sitting separated in their houses felt that what they'd been through mattered because of what we were putting in the museum. So although I might not have been able to do the engagement I intended to do last year, it was great to find new ways to engage people. And hopefully it won't be long before we can invite them into the museum to be part of us in person too. If you want to know any more, do take a look at the project page, or feel free to contact me on Twitter at Rosie S. Barker. Thanks very much. Bye.
2, 3. Planted a lot of flowers, planted a lot of seeds, planted lettuce, planted parsley, even planted trees. More time with the kids in the garden, and more time to play. More time for cooking, more time together, and more time to pray. 4 more weeks with my family, we are all okay. More time for playing, more time for wheelies, learning every day.
Thank you so much, Rosie. Learning every day indeed. And if you have any advice or experience you'd like to share with Rosie about digital collecting, do get in touch with her. Now, our final act of tonight's Museums Show-Off is Sasha Coward. He's going to be talking to us about escape rooms and creating escape games during lockdown. I suggest that you pay close attention to his set in the next 5 minutes, and I also suggest that you remain alert to a potential clue that you might hear very soon. Cryptic? Well, that's the point. Please welcome to your screens the fabulous Sasha Coward.
I think we can all say that we've had those moments where we question the decisions we've made in our lives. For me, it was the 17th of March 2020. So I'm a museum escape room designer, possibly the most hipster thing you've ever heard of. And midway through my avocado toast panini cappuccino that morning, I realised that my career was, well, it was built around 2 things. People being in a confined space, in groups, locked up together, and touching lots of things with their hands. So over the next few weeks, every single job I was working on disappeared. It was cancelled. And I won't lie, I really started to panic. For those that have never done one or don't know, an escape room is not the same as a panic room. No Jodie Foster is required. It's a real life immersive game. The idea being that you and your team, made up of your friends, well, you have to solve a whole set of puzzles in a time limit, normally in a theme setting or scenario. So you might be trying to stop a bomb from exploding, or trying to stop some evil criminals from stealing an artwork, or maybe save the whole of civilization from the spread of a deadly virus. That's going to need to be covered. So under lockdown, the obvious next step was to try to find a way to replicate the experience online. Now, I'm not a video game designer. I can't code or build this beautiful virtual version of what I'm normally trying to get people to play in. But you can still draw from people's imagination, and I know it sounds a bit cheesy and Walt Disney, but the imagination is limitless. So even if you're only on a Zoom phone call, as long as you can tell a story and create images in people's heads, you don't need to have this incredible design aesthetic. So I had Zoom, and I had Google Docs, a really rusty old Chromebook, and a friend, luckily, who worked for a company called Onago that create outdoor treasure hunts using GPS. Obviously, they weren't really doing that anymore either. So together, we created our very first escape room called the Atlantean Chest. So what does an indoor escape room puzzle look like? I mean, obviously you could just create maths puzzles and crosswords, but one, like the whole point of an escape room is to surprise, right? It's meant to be a bit magical and a bit scary. And you want to create a sense of adventure. And these are really lame puzzles, right? They sound like what your teacher would set you when your main teacher was off sick. So 2, You know, in a time when people are stuck inside and they're bored and they're not interacting with each other, we wanted to encourage them to interact. We didn't just want to create a cool escape room, we wanted to do something pro-social, get people working together, get people creating an experience that they actually remembered. Therefore, we decided that a lot of our puzzles would use everyday objects and household tools, things that you could just find lying around. So we would take people to go and find glasses, fill them with water at different levels, and then have to play it to make musical notes. Or having to pile a set of books in a particular way to create a letter or a shape. So we wanted to have people running around their homes looking for things and then trying to work out how they had to use them rather than just scrolling through Google. To be honest, everything was initially very DIY, a Zoom call with a set of instructions and then a mad dash of everyone just running around looking for stuff. You know, where's the slice of bread, or do we need an iron board to solve the Siren's Quest? And it was super fun. And I've since created similar projects for University College London museums. This encouraged students to actually look out for signs and things on their way around campus when they were outside. And I worked with Hastings museums to get people more interested in their collection of Aztec artifacts. It's a format that actually really worked, even though it came out of crisis because I didn't really know what else to do. It actually works in and of itself. These virtual experiences are not the same as the real thing, and they never will be. But we've now had thousands of people playing them, and they've given amazing feedback. Like, this has given them a form of escape. It's been fun, it's been playful, something to do with their mates that's different to a quiz. But on a personal level, I'm just really proud that I've been able to innovate, even when the whole world seems to be on fire. And I think a lot of people, whatever their career is, they've had to do the same kind of thing, and it's been hard, but it's kind of also been cool at the same time. So it does go to show that even when you're stuck inside, you can still escape. I mean, that's it. Oh, you want to play one? You're already in one, so the first clue is kind of just there. Yep. And you want to get inside here? You've got 30 minutes. Good luck.
And that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for tweeting if you did, and sharing and amplifying these voices and these projects. Thank you to our speakers, brilliant. Thank you so much to our producer, Rachel Suhami, who puts all this together. We don't have a date for the next show at the moment, so do keep an eye on the website and on the Twitter feed at Museum Showoff for details of when the next show will be. In the meantime, you can find out about past shows, past speakers, and more about our speakers tonight on the museum's Showoff website. So take care, stay safe, please, stay well. Let's keep supporting each other during what's a really tricky time for the sector, as well as for the wider arts and heritage communities and for society at the moment. I'm going to leave you with one final burst of positive energy from my pink-cheeked rainbow friend. Thank you, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
NET-196-1. What's missing?
How are you getting on? Just 10 minutes left. This is your 10-minute warning.
Did you do it? I mean, like, if you're watching this, you probably didn't because your timer's up, right? Don't worry. You can go back, you can reset and give it another go. And I'm going to give you 2 little clues. Did you spot the little red thing flashing up in the corner in my video? Come on, it's not that hard. It's not like you need Inspector Morse. Also, this t-shirt isn't a clue, right? You can ignore that. That's not a red herring of any kind. But the t-shirts in the video, don't know. Maybe they mean something. Go on. Give it another go, and hopefully I won't be seeing you again. Back, go on, back you go.